These games are held at the Multi-Zone, where they carry a large selection of A Song of Ice and Fire products. Be sure to check out the link in the description for a 10% off code. If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. May the old gods and the new smile on you. Good gaming.
How Stark is the stuff of legend in the north, and their family words, winter is coming.
A Lannister always pays his debts. Our words are, hear me roar.
The scenario is a feast for crows. The players decided to add a twist by adding a center objective. As per usual, the flank objectives have corpse piles under them. Corpse piles cannot otherwise be placed during setup. The Lannisters win the terrain roll and place a bog in the center of the table. The Starks place a forest to the right. The Lannisters play a hedge to the left, and the Starks finish with a heart tree. The Lannisters also win the first player roll and choose to switch sides and deploy second. The objectives are: right flank, put out a vulnerable token; center, shift 3 inches; left flank, put out a weakened token.
Round 1.
Round 1 opens with Arya taking the letters, drawing 2 cards, and putting a weakened token on the Lannisters' honor guard. Joffrey takes the horse and the honor guard advance 5 inches. His influence is placed on the Stormcrows. Shae takes the wealth zone and puts a weakened token onto the knights. Tywin takes the crown and zaps the Stormcrows, who pass their 9+ panic test, and then activate and march 10 inches forwards and pivot towards center. The poor fellows and their champion of the faith also march 10 inches forwards. The first Tully Cav and their Winterfell guardian maneuver 5 inches and then march into the hedge and pivot back towards the center. The warriors' sons march 10 inches forward. Ned's honor guard maneuvers forward 5 inches. The Lannisters' honor guard also maneuver forward with a pivot towards center. The second Tully Cav maneuvers and then marches into the forest. The Lannisters use their first pass token. Sansa takes the swords and plays assault orders. The second Tully Cav declares a charge on the honor guard. It's a 2+, but they fail on a 1. They forget to take a panic test. The Knights of Casterly Rock activate and move into the flank of the second Tully Cav unit. End of round 1.
Round 2.
The Lannisters throw away a fealty and draw a counterplot. They then open with the Knights maneuvering off the corpse pile and declaring a charge on the second Tully Cav unit. The charge is successful.
Wrath of the Warrior is played, the morale test is passed, and the Knights are throwing 9 dice hitting on 2s.
With a re-roll, all hit. The weakened token is spent, and all 9 still hit. Saving on 5+, the Tullys block 5. They pass their panic test and heal 1, taking a total of 3 wounds. Arya takes the horse, and the second Tully Cav unit retreats from combat. They pull straight back, and then both cavalry units pivot. Joffrey takes the letter. His influence goes onto the Stormcrows. He draws 2 cards and puts a weakened token on the second Tully Cav unit. Shae takes the bag and removes the weakened token and heals 3 wounds to the second Tully Cav. She also uses her ability to put another weakened token on the warrior's sons. A Lannister pays his debts is played onto the warrior's sons. The poor fellows march forward and claim the left objective and pivot towards the center. The Stormcrows then do the same with the right objective. Tywin claims the swords and replaces the zone with bribery, playing it onto the second Tully Cav unit. They then activate and maneuver into the flank of the Knights and declare a charge on them. It is successful. Devastating impact is played, but counterplot is played in response, and it is successful. Northern Ferocity is then played to gain vicious on the attack.
They roll 8 dice, and with re-rolls they all hit.
The Knights only save 2, and then fail their panic test for 2 more for 8 wounds total. Arya uses a token to maneuver Ned's honor guard 5 inches towards center. The champion of the faith uses his war cry. The moral test passes and they put a panic token on the second Tully Cav. The Lannisters use their second pass token. Sansa then takes the crown and replaces it with her ability to pull a card back, Assault Orders. The Lannister Honor Guard activates and maneuvers into the bog. Ned's Honor Guard maneuvers into the forest towards the knights. The warriors' sons declare a charge on Ned's Honor Guard. It is successful. They spend a faith token to gain sundering. After re-rolls, all 7 hit. The weakened token is spent and now only 3 hit. Saving on 3s, the Starks save 2 of 3, taking 1 wound. Hear Me Roar is played on the panic test and they fail for 4 wounds. Northern Defiance is played to auto-pass the test and deal 1 wound to the warriors' sons. The first Tully Cav activates and maneuvers into the flank of the warriors' sons. The round ends with the objectives being activated. The Stromcrows put a vulnerable token onto the Lannister Honor Guard. The poor fellows put a weakened token on the second Tully Cav unit and then get to shift 3 inches forwards using the center objective. The Starks score 1 victory point and the Lannisters score 2. End of round 2.
Round 3.
The Starks open round 3 with Sansa, using her once-per-game ability to draw a devastating impact back from the discard pile. She then claims the swords and uses Assault Orders to declare a charge on the warriors' sons with the first Tully Cav unit. The Lannisters play their second counterplot, but the roll fails and the charge is successful. Devastating impact is also played, and the warriors' sons become vulnerable and panicked. The Tullys throw 9 dice and with re-rolls 8 hit. The warriors' sons only block 1 but play Protection of the Father. They pass their morale test, generate a faith token, and block 4 and take 4 wounds. They pass their panic test, but the panic token is spent. They roll another 6 and still pass, generating another faith token. Joffrey takes the bag, and his influence goes onto the second Tully Cav unit. The Knights of Casterly Rock heal 3 wounds. Shay takes the letter and puts a weakened token on the warriors' sons, draws 2 cards and avoids destruction by generating 2 tokens. The North Remembers is played on the second Tully Cav unit. Tywin takes the horse and the knights retreat and pivot towards the Tullys. The Tullys then activate and declare a charge on the knights. It is successful because of bribery. They throw 8 dice and with re-rolls all 8 hit. The weakened token is spent and 5 still hit. The knights only block 1 and then fail their panic test, only taking 2 wounds, thanks to the Glory Seeker. The champion of the faith uses his war cry. It is successful, and the poor fellows generate a faith token and put out a vulnerable token on the second Tully Cav unit. The poor fellows then activate and declare a charge on the Tullys. It is disorderly but still successful. They spend a faith token to gain precision and re-rolls. After a re-roll, they land 2 precisions and a hit. The Tullys fail to block the hit and take 3 wounds. They pass their panic test, but the panic token is spent and they fail for another 3 wounds. Ned's Honor Guard activates and their rally cry heals 2 wounds to the second Tully Cav before attacking the warriors' sons. Winter's Might is played to gain sundering. They land 6 hits. The warriors' sons block 2 and the vulnerable is spent. All 6 hit now. They spend a faith token to block 2 and take 4 wounds. They pass their panic test and regenerate a faith token. Lead by example is played on the first Tully Cav unit. The Lannisters' Honor Guard declares a charge into the flank of the first Tully Cav unit. It is successful. Before the attack, Meryn Trant puts out a weakened and panic token onto the Tullys. The second Wrath of the Warrior is played, but the Honor Guard fails the morale test. They still get +1 hit from the card. With the re-rolls from the charge and 2 condition tokens on the Tullys, the Honor Guard get all 4 of their abilities. They throw 7 dice, and after re-rolls and the weakened token being spent, only 4 hit, +1. The Tullys block none and take 5 wounds. They pass their panic test, and the token is spent, but they still pass. They forget to heal and deal a wound. The Tullys then activate and hit into the warrior's son's flank. Throwing 5 dice, 3 hit, and the warrior's sons fail to save any, but spend a faith token to block all 3, auto-pass their panic test and generate the token back. The warrior's sons now activate and attack the Tullys. They spend a token to get sundering and re-rolls. They land 3 hits. Their weakened token is spent and only 2 still hit. The Tullys block both and auto-pass their panic test. They heal 2 wounds and deal 1 to the warrior's sons. Sandor uses his threaten to put a weakened token onto the Lannister honor guard. The Stormcrows do a slight maneuver while keeping control of the right flank's objective. The Knights activate and perform a retreat backwards a few inches. The Starks score 1 victory point and the Lannisters score 2. The Stormcrows have no target in range for a vulnerable. The poor fellows put a weakened on the second Tully Cav unit, and the Knights shift back slightly using the center objective. End of round 3.
Round 4!
Round 4 opens with Tywin using his once per game. He puts both a vulnerable and panic token on the first Tully Cav and turns off their abilities for the round. Then he does 4 hits to them. 3 of the 4 get through as wounds. They then take a panic test and fail it for 4 more wounds due to the High Sparrow's intimidating presence. The second a Lannister pays his debts is played on the Casterly Rock Honor Guard. Joffrey then activates and claims the swords. The Honor Guard attacks the first Tully Cav unit, gaining all 4 of their abilities. They throw 7 dice after a reroll 5 hit, but the weakened token is spent and only 4 hit. The Tullys save 2, but are killed. The Lannisters score 1 victory point. The Honor Guard surges forth. Sandor uses his threaten to again put a weakened token back onto the Honor Guard. Shay takes the letter, draws 2 cards, and puts weakened tokens on the poor fellows and the Knights. Tywin takes the bag and replaces it with the second bribery, placing it onto Ned's Honor Guard. Arya takes the horse, and Assault Orders is played along with a Winter's Might, and Ned's unit attacks the warrior's sons. Their rally cry heals 2 wounds back to the Tully Cav. They land 4 hits, and the warrior's sons block 2. Then spend a faith token to block the rest, and auto-pass their panic to get the token right back. The warrior's sons activate and play Mercy of the Mother. They pass their morale test and heal 4 wounds back and generate a faith token. They then spend a token to gain re-rolls and sundering on their attack on Ned's Honor Guard. Throwing 6 dice with re-rolls all hit. The Starks block 1 and take 5 wounds. Go down fighting deals 1 wound back. They pass the panic test with style and bribery is discarded. Rally Banner heals 1 wound and Northern Defiance is played to deal 2 more wounds to the warrior's sons. Ned's Honor Guard activates and attacks the warrior's sons again. Rally Cry heals 2 more wounds to the Tullys. They throw 6 dice and get 6 hits. The warrior's sons block 5 and use a faith token to block the 6th and auto-pass their panic test to get the token back. Arya uses her second token and Ned's Honor Guard performs a retreat for 11 inches behind the Tully Cav. The warrior's sons pivot. The champion of the faith uses War Cry. The poor fellows pass their morale test and generate a faith token and put a panic onto the Tullys. The poor fellows spend a faith token and attack the Tullys. They get 2 hits and a precision. The Tullys block both hits. They pass their panic test.
The panic token is spent, but the Tullys still pass and heal the wound.
Sansa takes the crown and replaces the zone to pull Assault Orders back from the discard. The Lannister Honor Guard marches forward 10 inches. The Tullys attack the poor fellows. They throw 5 dice and 2 hit. The warrior's sons fail to block either and take 2 wounds. They then pass their panic test, thanks to the High Sparrow's embolden. They generate a faith token. The Knights activate and declare a charge on the Tullys. It is successful, but they do touch the forest. They throw 6 dice and they all hit. The weakened is spent and 5 still hit. The Tullys save 3, The vulnerable is spent, and 2 more get through. The Tullys pass their panic test and heal 1 wound. The Stormcrows maneuver forward slightly, maintaining control of the objective. The round ends with the poor fellows putting a weakened onto Ned's honor guard. The Stormcrows put a vulnerable onto the warrior's sons, and the Lannister honor guard shifts 3 inches using the center objective. The Starks score 1, and the Lannisters score 2 victory points. End of round 4.
Round 5.
Round 5 begins with Shay taking the swords. She puts a weakened token onto the Lannister honor guard. Then she replaces the zone with assault orders. Ned's honor guard successfully charges into the flank of the poor fellows. They play devastating impact. The poor fellows gain vulnerable and panic tokens. Then they play Winter is Coming and choose to block cards and orders. They throw 6 dice and get 6 hits from critical blow. Their weakened token is spent, and all 4 hit. The poor fellows save none, taking 4 wounds. They pass their panic test, but the panic token is spent, and they fail the second time, taking 3 more wounds. They then lose control of the objective. The champion of the faith now triggers his war cry, which succeeds, and puts a vulnerable token onto the Tullys. The poor fellows then activate and spend a faith token to heal 2 wounds. They then spend another faith token to gain precision and re-rolls. They attack Ned's honor guard and land 2 precisions and a hit. Their weakened token is spent, and after the re-roll only 1 hit still lands. The honor guard blocks the hit and auto pass their panic test. They heal a wound from Rally Banner. Arya takes the bag and heals the Tullys and removes the weakened token from them. The Knights activate and play Mercy of the Mother. They pass their morale test and heal 3 wounds. They attack the Tullys with 4 dice. All 4 hit. The Tullys fail to block any and take 4 wounds. They pass their panic test and heal 1 wound. Sansa takes the letter, draws 2 cards and puts a vulnerable onto the Knights. Joffrey takes the horse. His influence goes onto the Stormcrows, and the honor guard maneuvers 5 inches into the rear of the Tullys. Sandor uses Threaten to put a weakened token onto the warrior's sons. The Tullys activate and retreat. They pull back and pivot to face the honor guard. The honor guard activates and declares a charge on the Tullys. They are successful, and Meryn Trant puts a weakened and panic token onto them. They gain all 4 of their abilities and throw 7 dice. After the re-roll they all hit, but their weakened token is spent, and the final hit count is 6. The Tullys block 5 and the vulnerable is spent. Only 1 more gets through for 2 wounds, and then they fail their panic test for 1 more wound, taking 3 wounds total. Fury for the Fallen is played, and Ned's honor guard attacks the poor fellows. They land 5 hits, and the poor fellows save none. Protection of the Father is played, but they fail their morale test, so they auto-block 1 hit. They then fail their panic test, taking their final wound, and so are destroyed. The Starks score 1 victory point. At this point, both players forgot to put out a new corpse pile as dictated by the scenario rules. Both of the A. Lannister pays his debts cards are now activated.
Ned's unit surges forth and claims the objective. They then activate and declare a charge on the Knights.
They are successful and charge into their flank. They throw 7 dice and land 4 hits. The Knights save 1. The vulnerable is spent, and all 4 wounds get through. The Knights pass their panic test and deal 1 wound to the honor guard, but go down fighting triggers and deals 1 wound back to the Knights. The warriors' sons activate and maneuver forwards, getting closer to the Tullys, but giving up the center objective. The Stormcrows activate and hold their position on the right flank objective. Tywin activates and panic bombs the Stormcrows. They fail their panic test, take 2 wounds and lose control of the objective. The round ends with the Starks scoring 1 victory point for the left objective and putting a weakened token onto the Knights. End of round 5.
Round 6.
Round 6 opens with Joffrey taking the swords. His influence goes on to the Tullys, and the Lannister honor guard attacks them. They gain Sunder, Vicious, and re-rolls. After the re-roll, all 7 hits land. The Tullys block 4 hits and take 2 wounds. Hear Me Roar is played on the panic test. The Tullys just pass with 9. The panic token is spent, but they still pass. The second Fury for the Fallen is played, and Ned's Honor Guard attacks the Knights. They land 7 hits. The Knights only save 1 and are killed. The Starks score a victory point. Arya claims the horse and the Tullys retreat towards the center objective. Then the second swift reposition is played, and they are able to do a 3-inch maneuver and claim the center objective. The Lannister Honor Guard successfully charges Ned's Honor Guard. They put out a panic and weakened token from Meryn Trant and gain Sunder, Vicious, and turn off their abilities. They hit them with 7 dice. 6 land, but Ned saves 4, taking only 2 wounds. They pass their panic test and maintain control of the objective. At this point, the Lannister player concedes, acknowledging that the Stark player would now score all 3 objectives and the battle was lost. It was a close and hard-fought battle, but in the end the Starks win a narrow victory. Starks 8, Lannisters 7.
If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. May the old gods and the new smile on you. Good gaming.